Yo guys, Vision here back with more Minecraft content and welcome back to my new forever world in Hardcore Survival, a brand new world and series to this channel following the completion of Minecraft Survival, a previous series that was set out in the channel over 12 months ago where I returned to Survival for the first time in 10 years with the aim to complete everything there was to do in Minecraft, and we managed to do so. Now the next step in our journey is to play Hardcore Survival and hopefully defeat the Ender Dragon, the finale, the penultimate point in the journey in completing Minecraft, with the end credit scene even appearing. And I wanted to share that journey with you guys for hardcore players as well as new and existing long-term players to inspire you guys to experience this intense, challenging but extremely exciting adventure as we tick it off my list of gaming adventures, something I've always wanted to do for some time now, and hopefully we can do so without dying. So on that note, without further ado, let's get right into it. So first things first, of course, it's important to discuss the purpose of the series. As I alluded to in the intro, the goal is to defeat the Ender Dragon, maybe even the Wither, the Warden, and even more as we go through this series. But for now, we need to get to a point where we can eventually defeat the Ender Dragon. And in order to do so, we're going to have to brave the Nether and go through and explore until we find a fortress to acquire as much blaze powder or blaze rods as we possibly can in order to craft our Eyes of Ender to be able to locate a stronghold. Because to remind you guys, I do not use chunk base in this world or any world in Minecraft Survival. I prefer going about it in the natural way. Using and understanding the world's lore is a fundamental aspect in enjoying and playing Minecraft for myself. That's just my own way in seeing things and playing it out. So that's why we go on these longer adventures, which of course does take more time, but makes it far more memorable. And with my experiences so far in this world, and as for future episodes, we'll get into all of the details right at the end. But as for the so far in this world, it's been a real adjustment to get used to this environment, with no respawning, of course, with real risk for typical threats that are usually quite easy to deal with, such as drowns with tridents. These are a mob that I learned early on you do not mess with, and we went over those in episode 1 and 2. For you guys to understand, this is episode 3, so in the first 2 episodes we went into more detailed exploration and what I've done so far and where I found and how I established my base and where I got a bit lucky with finding both a village nearby as soon as I spawned and getting food straight away, and then also setting up camp literally right next door. Upon doing so, I ended up finding a mine shaft right below my base, ended up saving some diamonds nearby until I got fortune, got all of them, and we ended up getting diamond armor pretty quickly, which I was really proud of because I just showed to myself, or sort of proved to myself, that I've come a long way in terms of playing Minecraft Survival, as again, it's been quite some time until we've got into this thing. Now also finding a lush cave nearby, an underworld kingdom with dripstone all the way throughout, safe means of travel using a strip mine and stairs all the way around my base and securing it for an entrance where only I could get through and mobs were going to stay out. And that was pretty much the first 2 episodes, with the episode 3 being all about the Nether and how we are going to be progressing towards finding a fortress and of course obtaining those blaze rods so we can make those Eyes of Ender and locate the stronghold to eventually defeat the Ender Dragon, the ultimate goal for this series and in Hardcore Survival. Now, in regards to getting into the Nether, I started out in pretty much the worst spot I think I've ever come out into. There was just nothing around, and in order to get places, you had to place blocks to get across, and it was so dangerous with ghast right above my head. Although, okay, it probably could have been harder had I spawned into the basalt deltas or perhaps even the crimson biomes. So I guess where I spawned in terms of biome was okay, but it was just not good in terms of elevation and what was around. So I had to secure the area as quick as possible from any other mobs and make sure that I was not going to die as soon as I got into the Nether, because of course this is going to be the most extreme point in our journey so far in Hardcore Survival. And then getting through the Nether, I started off initially trying to basically go strip mining, because I thought there was 2 ideas to this. One, I need to find ancient debris potentially at the end of the day because I wanted to get netherite, but also at the same time it was never a primary target or objective of mine. I just want to be able to get to the fortress, so I thought let's just go under the map and do it safer so that we don't encounter mobs and that we just don't bother encountering anything that's going to just potentially kill us, and therefore if we end up finding our way to a fortress we can just get ourselves straight back whilst having a safe means of travel, and then obviously simultaneously being able to strip mine and find some ancient debris. But I quickly learned that this method was going to be awful because there was lava surrounding us everywhere, and we basically, like I said, spawned into an area that wasn't really safe and the elevation was horrible, and this method was just not effective or safe. So I then decided that I'm going to have to be brave, and I'm going to have to use all the skills and knowledge I've gained so far in my other forever worlds that I've played in and try and go about this in just the best, safest and most effective method. And we decided to just explore the surrounding biomes, look around in my local environment and just see which was the best sort of route I could try and take to try and find a fortress nearby. Now, of course, they usually do spawn near lava lakes, so I was trying to find anything with a higher elevation, and also I know that they can't be found in basalt deltas, where I actually had to go across one in order to find my first fortress, and I got so lucky by finding one literally straight away. I was up to 600, I think, or 700 blocks away from the point of where I spawned until I finally found my first one, and that is, I'd say, quite lucky. You can go a long time in my other Forever world, which we've got a realm on where I play with amongst all of my friends. I think that one we went for days in terms of Minecraft days played till we actually found our first one, and we also found more bastions in that world than we did fortresses, which of course when you're not looking for the template, that's pretty pointless because we were trying to get fortresses for the sake of ender pearls. The same purpose as this, we're trying to get Eyes of Ender so we can locate the stronghold. And again, I got really lucky, found the fortress quite soon on, and I just knew that I had to take this really carefully, play it really slow, and then just try and get as much blaze powder as I possibly could so that we can move on, get out there, and get home safely so that we can go on to episode 4 where we will eventually get round to try and prepare for the Ender Dragon. But at this point in time, I was just going to go into the fortress and start taking it room by room, playing it incredibly slow, where we did have some really close calls, and I'll show you as we go through this. So as soon as I got into my first fortress, I just decided to go through from the ground up, where I effectively got down to this fortress, and then as soon as I got up to a first room, clear it out, and then work my way through it. I got really lucky straight away, as you can see, where I got blaze just spawning right in front of my face, and that way I was able to start getting blaze powder on the go as soon as possible, or blaze rods I should say. And then as soon as I walked out, I realized that there was literally a spawner to my left. Again, as you can see, getting quite lucky here. I was just really thankful for this because I had horrible experiences, like I said previously. So the game was kind of making up for it a little bit here, saying, here you go, have an easier time because you are in hardcore. And then I literally got myself next to the spawner, blocked myself in to make it safe from ghasts and others, and sort of mobs like withers, and then pretty much just farmed them over and over again until I got a certain amount. Then I decided to just go explore a little bit, just to maybe try and get a wither skull if I could, which we didn't. And at this point in time, it's worth also noting I didn't have, or still don't have, looting on my sword, which does suck. It would have made it a lot easier. But at this point, I just, like I said, I wanted to get to this nether as soon as possible. And I did have a sharpness 3 fire aspect 2 sword, so that was okay. It did do the trick. It killed the blaze in 2 hits, and it also killed wither skeletons in 2 hits, so it was absolutely fine. We had a power 2 bow at the time. I ended up finding a power 3 bow, which is fine for the ghasts and so on. So as you can see, we were kind of set up. I had decent armor as well. I had prop 4 on helmet, chest, and boots, or leggings I think it was, and the boots were just plain. But as you can see, that is pretty much plenty. That's all you kind of need in order to get around safely. I could have been better prepared, but I also have been in worse situations, so I'd say it was pretty fine in the grand scheme of things. As I said, I started exploring through this fortress just to see what else was around, and then decided I was going to leave. However, I got even more lucky because by the time I decided to leave the fortress from a different angle, I thought, if I'm going to leave this fortress, I may as well, one, go explore a little bit further, so I end up finding another blaze spawner, getting a little bit more blaze rods. But as I left as well, I ended up in a little bit of a different area where I was effectively on the other side of a mountain, if you could say. And to my left, or not far from this, I ended up finding a bastion. I did say to myself, I don't want to have to come back to this nether if I'm being honest with myself. So I was like, let's just see. Let's just see. As I've gone about 300 blocks away, let's just see if I can get to 500 blocks, and if I can find a bastion, perfect. Now, of course, the bastion I was looking for was a treasury, which we did not find, because if you guys weren't aware, the treasury is where you find the guaranteed netherite smithing templates. They will always have at least one. Whereas I actually found a Hoglin Stables, which is also arguably the best thing you could find, because for hardcore, the Hoglin Stables, in my opinion, is probably the easiest ones you could possibly find. And this is where I was pretty safe from this most part. I did have a really awkward encounter, as you can see right here, right away, where I effectively tried getting close to it. And as soon as I got close, I've been in this environment before. I've been with a friend before who just got absolutely murdered by the brutes. So I knew to go at it slower and just wait to see what basically pops out. And as you can see, a whole horde of them just starts falling out from the top of the bastion, and if I had stayed in that area, or if I'd not looked behind me and started walking in, I would have died 1000%, and the series would have been over right there and then, and I would have been gutted. And I really wanted to make sure that I got this done first time, and we are still on track for doing so. And on this world, I just wanted to make sure I got a smithing template if I could, if I was in a bastion, and then get out. And again, we got lucky. We ended up finding 2 smithing templates in this bastion. As you can see here at the top, there's like 3 different sections where you have 2 chests at least in each area, which I don't know if that's normal, but I haven't seen many of this like this before, even for a Hoglin Stables. So again, got really lucky, got the smithing template. I even then went and made a stupid mistake by going down below and trying to see if there's anything else I could find. And it's stupid because there's so much risk involved. I already had the blaze rods, I already found the netherite smithing template, and God, why am I so stupid? But I still risked going into this place to try and find potentially more stuff like ancient debris or even diamonds or whatever. And I did go down there, I did find more stuff, and I did nearly die. As you can see, my encounter here with the Hoglin, I was not paying attention, and I didn't even have my headset on in this time of trying to go through this fortress. I was actually just sort of chilling in the background and taking this not as seriously as I probably should have, and I nearly died. So that made me have to lock in. I paused the game, I made sure I put my headset on, and we made sure we just got out of here as quick as possible, because I realized I was already blessed at this point, finding the fortress so quickly, finding a bastion right next door to it, and then being able to get home within 1,000 blocks. I needed to make sure that we, at this point, got home. And on my way home, I ended up finding another fortress. I was like, I've got to explore this just a little bit and play it safe again. Now, at this point, you probably were thinking, or maybe if you was in my shoes, you would have thought, no, let's just go now. I've got everything. But I don't know what's happened or why I didn't feel sort of threatened to the point where I should have gone. I ended up just thinking, let's just go do it. It's just a fortress. If I play it smart and I take it slowly, like I have, then we'll be fine. But as you can see right here, this was the closest I've come to dying in this world. I cannot believe how stupid I was, or I guess unlucky. You can kind of say the game was telling me here, or almost like warning me, like, look, you've overstayed your welcome, you've had plenty of chances, now I need to get out. That's kind of how I took it. Like, I literally was going to the end of this bastion, of this fortress to leave, and as soon as I go to leave, I see 3 wither skeletons, so I'm like, okay, I need to play this smart. As I'm backing up trying to take them on, a whole horde of stuff just spawns behind me, and I'm talking skeletons, blaze, everything that was not there just 1 second ago has all just decided to spawn at the same time, and it made it so scary to the point I thought I just lost everything, and I was going to say to myself, this is when I should have left. I told myself I should have left, blah, 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 but we got lucky. I took that as all my chances, and I made sure I got out from this point when we returned home to the base, which I cannot tell you how nice of a feeling that was, to just spawn back into the overworld and make sure that I do not have to ever come back to the Nether, at least for a long time, because I got everything. I got my ender pearls from slaying endermen in the warped biomes. I got all of my blaze rods from slaying the blades. I ended up getting all of the, so I got the 2 smithing templates that I didn't even need. I only needed 1. I got so much other stuff. I got my favorite block in the game, the gilded blackstone. Like, I love that thing in bastions. It's just, in my opinion, a really cool decorative block that obviously has a bit more purpose to it because of how you have to get it using silk touch and just with it being around bastions. So I thought, get as many of this as well, because eventually I want to get around to building projects in hardcore survival. I've never been able to do it before, so I want to make sure that if we're going to have a forever world here in this hardcore environment, once we kill the dragon, I want more purpose and more building blocks to go and build some mega projects and so on. So that's kind of the purpose of that. But I got everything I possibly needed other than any wither skulls, which is fine because we will come back here eventually to try and get as many as we can with a looting sword to then try and slay the wither and get beacons and so on before we start getting into any mega projects. But that is for a future episode, and that will be something that we do after, of course, we defeat the dragon, which going into episode 4, we are going to set up the finale of enchanting all of my armor and effectively craft as many Eyes of Ender as we can to try and locate the stronghold using that blaze powder we just acquired from the Nether Fortress in my exploration, and then find the stronghold and use this to defeat the Ender Dragon, which we will do in episode 4 and episode 5. Now, I mentioned earlier as well that I wanted to quickly recap on about this 25 episode series that I have on the background already on the channel. This is pretty much a story of me starting a forever world for the first time, exploring the world, finding and looting structures, conquering bosses and other challenges all the way throughout to completing the series in itself, the ultimate goal that I set out in completing survival in Minecraft, and that is what we did. That is on the channel. I wanted to remind you guys, as well as there being plenty of guides for new players in addition to the previous world in this series. For any new players or old timers who need reminders, I've got plenty of guides both on the channel already and on the way, which I'm working on, so be sure to stick around for these. But as well as that, I also mentioned earlier that we have another forever world, so there is the more Minecraft content that I produce, that we've got an amazing realm at the moment, a long-term multiplayer forever world, a godlike seed, and I'll also be creating monthly content for that series. So if you guys haven't seen that or you weren't aware, go check that out. That world is far more progressed, where we have an elytra and we have mega projects on the go inside a mountain base up in the mountains where there's so much snow and stuff. It's really cool, really picturesque, and there's so much more going on. But I thought I'd remind you guys of all of those because that's all of the extra content I create for Minecraft as well. But in summary, this has been the 3rd episode in our hardcore survival series, with episode 4 going to be coming out in about 4 weeks' time, and we are going to eventually defeat this dragon. I hope you guys will stick around and join me on that journey, as this is one of the ultimate goals in gaming that I've always wanted to achieve, and we are going to do so without dying. If you have enjoyed the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe and comment down below any tips that you might have for any returning players to the game like myself, or perhaps any new players. Of course, it could be hardcore related or not. Whatever it is, let me know, guys, down below in the comments, and I will get right back to you. I'm VisionSGen. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.